Former U.S. ambassador testifies at impeachment hearings. Toronto Christmas market brings holiday spirit. Browns' Myles Garrett suspended for getting too defensive. Humber News starts now.
Hello, I'm Sydney Walcott, coming to you from our newsroom at Humber's North Campus. It's Friday, November 15th. Here's what's making news this hour. The former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, says she felt her abrupt removal by President Donald Trump was playing into the hands of shady interests the world over. Yovanovitch is testifying at Trump's impeachment hearing in Washington. Yovanovitch, who was described by Trump as bad news in a phone call with his Ukrainian counterpart, is what Democrats have called a key witness. She told the House of Representatives Intelligence Committee that her anti-corruption efforts led to her removal as ambassador.
And please be seated.
Perhaps it was not surprising that when our anti-corruption efforts got in the way of a desire for profit or power, Ukrainians who preferred to play by the old corrupt rules sought to remove me. What continues to amaze me is that they found Americans willing to partner with them, and working together, they apparently succeeded in orchestrating the removal of a U.S. ambassador.
Committee Chair Adam Schiff said Yovanovitch's fight against corruption in Ukraine wasn't supported by the president.
Interest in fighting corruption in Ukraine, but she was considered an obstacle to the furtherance of the president's personal and political agenda. For that, she was smeared and cast aside.
During her tenure as ambassador, Yovanovitch says she was attacked by Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. She says he led a smear campaign against her with unfounded and false claims by people with clearly questionable motives. During the hearing, Trump took to Twitter and fired off criticism at Yovanovitch, saying, "Everywhere Marie Yovanovitch went turned bad. She started off in Somalia. How did that go? Then fast forward to Ukraine, where the new Ukrainian president spoke unfavorably about her in my second phone call with him. It is a president's absolute right to appoint ambassadors." Schiff then asked Yovanovitch for her reaction to the tweet.
I don't think I have such powers, not in Mogadishu, Somalia, and not in other places. I actually think that where I've served over the years, I and others have demonstrably made things better, for the U.S. as well as for the countries that I've served in.
The hearing will continue until 5 p.m. as Yovanovitch continues her testimony. NDP leader Jagmeet Singh met with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and left him with a tough decision. Jagmeet Singh was in the Prime Minister's office yesterday to discuss what he felt the Canadian people needed. Issues such as climate change, pharmacare, and housing were discussed. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau agreed that both the Liberals and NDP had some of the same priorities and that he was eager to get to work. The meeting with the two leaders went well, but Singh left the Prime Minister with an ultimatum: either collaborate with the NDP or the Conservatives, but not both. The Prime Minister will resume his opposition sit-downs at Parliament on December 5th. An arrest has been made 3 days after the discovery of shocking vandalism at the downtown Cenotaph. It appears the war memorial was spray-painted by a supporter of controversial sports broadcaster Don Cherry. Shameful and disgusting are two words being used to describe the vandalism of the Cenotaph at Old City Hall. The vandalism came less than 24 hours after the Remembrance Day ceremony was held there and sparked outrage. Police say 33-year-old Thomas Christian Zog has been arrested and is facing 2 mischief-related charges. He is accused of spray painting the words, "Ye broke faith with us," referencing a line from the poem In Flanders Field. In a Facebook post, Zog admitted to spray painting the Cenotaph, claiming he was compelled to do this act following Don Cherry's firing. He is also referred to the Cenotaph as a fair target in the cultural war. The family of one of the survivors of the Humboldt Broncos bus crash says they will no longer speak with CTV News. This is due to the social host, Jessica Allen's comments on hockey players not being very nice. The Strauss family took to Twitter after to discuss their disgust with the comments. They said it is unfair that Don Cherry has been punished for his statements on race, but Allen is still able to work. Toronto's 10th annual Christmas market opened to a crowd of cheerful, caroling Torontonians drinking hot apple cider. Christmas lights lit up children's faces as a surprise guest stopped by to help celebrate the occasion.
Hundreds of Torontonians gathered downtown to get into the holiday spirit. This is the 10th annual market held in the Distillery District. 41 days until Christmas and recent snowfall set the scene as elves greeted guests waiting to meet the man in red.
Hi! Did you want to see Santa?
And despite his busy schedule, Santa still found time to help light up the tree.
I love that tree. It's 40-foot balsam fir. It has about a kilometer and a half of ribbon, 800 Christmas ornaments. It has about 30,000 lights, and it is the centerpiece and icon of the Toronto Christmas market.
The market was full of the various vendors and traditional holiday food and drinks. Guests had the chance to enjoy mulled wine, warm cider, and other specialties. One of the highlights was Cypress Lunch, a collaboration with a nearby restaurant.
This is my second festival, actually. This is the second time I'm running this market. We did a whiskey booth last year with a different name, but this year it's a scuba.
Along with hot drinks, guests can warm up by an open fire to stave off the cold. The attractions here are available till December 22nd, as well as the vendors. For anyone who's looking for a holiday treat, Toronto Christmas Market has it. Karina Harina, Humber News.
Turns out it's not just Canadians pushing through heavy storms. High winds and freezing temperatures have hit northern Spain, causing roads to be slick and making visibility difficult. The cold front that is making its way across Spain has left roads blocked off and closed schools down. The storm has been causing flooding and damage to vehicles as a result of the 120 km/h winds. Workers are in the process of cleaning up broken trees and other debris after the storm. With India's capital engulfed in life-threatening smog, a new bar is gaining popularity. Delhi's air quality already reached a severe level. The city has been in pollution-filled haze for over 2 weeks now. Oxy Pier is a bar catering fresh oxygen to the people of Delhi. The bar offers a 15-minute session to inhale a cocktail of oxygen in different flavors. You can choose from aromas like vanilla, cherry, lemongrass, and many more. Therapy at this bar promises to aid weight loss, help memory, and serve as a depression remedy. Venice is bracing itself for more flooding days after being hit by high tides. Italy has declared a state of emergency in Venice after the city was flooded by 6 feet of water. Flooding put the city in a standstill as shops, restaurants, and popular attractions had to be closed for safety reasons. So far, 2 people have died, and with more flooding predicted, residents and tourists are being asked to take precautions. The mayor of Venice blamed the flooding on climate change. A project was developed in 1984 to prevent the city from flooding. Work on the project began in 2003, but has been plagued with delays and a corruption scandal in 2014. Italy's Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte described the flooding as a blow to the heart of our country. He said the government would now act quickly to provide funds and resources for those affected. Protesters who had barricaded themselves in a Hong Kong university are beginning to leave. 1 man has been found dead, and hundreds arrested amid the violence. Ending violence and restoring order in Hong Kong is yet to happen as another weekend of city-crippling protests escalate. The protesters are demanding the government to proceed with local elections happening next week. Bankers, lawyers, and other white-collar workers joined student protesters to defy police in the city's business district. Students turned university campuses into fortresses, and the situation was out of control. The police are still investigating the death of a 7-year-old bystander who was hit in the head by a brick during the clashes.
We found that he walked there, believed to be taking the video of the scenes, and then was deliberately hurled with bricks towards him, and then he died later on.
The Chinese University of Hong Kong is seeking government help as activists destroyed the campus and blocked major rail routes. Police further fueled aggression by storming the campus. Chinese president says he strongly backs up the police in enforcing the law. Protesters pointed bows and arrows at the riot squad, and the police fought back with tear gas. The ongoing riot is spreading to other campuses, and a peaceful outcome is less likely to happen until protests end. Israel and militant Palestinians were supposed to come to a truce yesterday in the Gaza Strip, but it seems as if the group Islamic Jihad broke that deal when they launched several rockets towards border towns in Israel. Though there are no reports of injuries or damage caused by last night's rockets, Israel fought back with a series of airstrikes on their targets linked to the Islamic Jihad militant group. Originally, the two sides had come to an agreement to end the violence, but the Islamic Jihad group broke the truce when supporters of the group were angry and held protests around Gaza. The violence between the two sides began on Tuesday when the Islamic Jihad leader Baha Abu al-Atta was killed in a targeted airstrike. The 48-hour clash killed 32 people and injured several others. NASA astronauts are taking part in a series of spacewalks to prepare a broken cosmic ray detector. A piece of space junk needed to be removed from the International Space Station before it posed further danger. The 4-foot panel is being removed from the space station and will likely orbit Earth for another year before re-entering the atmosphere and burning up. NASA considers these spacewalks the most difficult for astronauts because the spectrometer was never meant to undergo space surgery. However, due to the repairs, NASA will need to make at least 4 more trips to completely fix the $2 billion piece of technology. Looks like Taylor Swift's hopes to shake it off on stage at the American Music Awards won't go as planned. Swift will be receiving an award for Artist of the Decade during the 2019 American Music Awards ceremony. The artist expressed her frustration over social media as she is feuding with her former founder of her record label. The current and former owner stated that she cannot perform any of her older songs unless she does what they have asked. Swift cannot re-record copycat versions of her songs next year if she wants to use her songs during this year's performance. We are going to take a quick break. Still ahead, the latest in sports. But first, Katerina Harina has a preview of your 3-day forecast.
Get your Christmas hats on as Santa's coming to town. Today, the first time in a while where we hit 0 degrees, but there is still more snow on the way. We'll have your 3-day weather forecast after the break.